Detroit Lions fans, Steve and Will back with another episode of Detroit Den 313. You know, where we talk everything Detroit Lions. Listen, Steve says it all the time. Let this be what, Steve? Your
Go-to source for Detroit Lions content. We talk rumors, trades, offseason, preseason, draft, recaps, pre-game shows, post-game shows. We talk everything here, Detroit Lions. If this is your first time seeing us, hit that subscribe button. We don't ask often.
Yeah, and shame on you if this is your first time. You're a true blue
Yeah.
fan. But Steve, what the heck are we getting into first? I know we got a couple of things that we got on the docket today. So where you want to go with this thing first?
Tonight's kind of just a sit back and chill, sit back, enjoy the show. We don't really have, we have some things we're going to talk about, but we don't really have any notes. Just some updates, some old news, some new news. There's some stuff that's happened earlier this week. We'll just get right into it with some national media guys, man, bashing Jared Goff, bashing the Detroit Lions. If you guys are familiar with the Nick Wright comments, calling him a civilian. Now, we don't get on here. We're not here. I don't care about Nick Wright. I'm not going to bash him or pretend that like this dude's in like my feelings or anything. Like it's just I'm gonna turn this guy into a clown. Okay, here's what happens. They work for Fox Sports, something like that, ESPN. Listen, I truly believe that those big personalities out there have to make outlandish statements like this to stay relevant. Because if you look at what ESPN's doing, man, they're laying people off hand over fist. Like they're cutting money. Do you know what I really think the cause for those layoffs are, Will?
Talk to me.
It's podcasters. It's podcasters like you and me. People are going to other places for their sources of sports entertainment, and the main place they come is YouTube, TikTok, other places like that to get their information. Nobody's watching ESPN that much anymore. They still got their morning shows to do well. Pat McAfee, like he's burning up a lot of their budget, but people have so many different areas to go and get your sports content. And I feel like if you're on those big markets, you're muzzled, man. You're muzzled in a way where you have to say something so crazy to get clicks, to get your name still out there, to maintain your popularity, your fame. Like Stephen A, man, he's made a living off doing some of this shit. Like he's got a great personality and he's entertaining. Some of these other guys say stuff like this, and I'm like, what is he even talking about? So earlier this week, Nick Wright made a comment saying that the Detroit Lions would never win a Super Bowl with a civilian as their quarterback in Jared Goff. And I'm just thinking he tried to use the word civilian as like am I wrong here that I feel like he tried to use that as like a disrespectful term?
Yeah, I felt like he was using it the same as people use game manager.
Yeah, like I've never heard a quarterback called a civilian before. So I was like, I don't know why he's trying to turn that like disrespectful, because that word doesn't mean anything disrespectful in my opinion. It's just another word, but the way he was using it was just like, what's this idiot trying to do, man? But let's talk about Jared Goff. All right, well, you got a picture. Throw it up. Let's look at a civilian versus a superhero. Okay, those are the stats for Jared Goff versus Patrick Mahomes this year. 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions to 15 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, blowing him out in yardage, blowing him out in completion percentage. I think his QBR is higher. So let's have a little chat about Jared Goff. How do you feel about JG?
Yeah, man. I think that people hate on Jared Goff because he doesn't have the same superpowers as they do, right? And he hasn't done the things yet that some of these other quarterbacks have who didn't have the superpowers. When you start talking about the Peyton Mannings, when you start talking about the Drew Breeses, the Tom Brady's, the list goes on, of guys that weren't going to run around and run for yards and do crazy things with their feet, or didn't have the howitzer, as they say, to throw this thing 80 yards, right? But how often are you doing that? How often are you doing those things? If you're running around a lot in the NFL, you end up hurt, right? That's why Lamar doesn't do it as much anymore. These are grown men who are the biggest, strongest human beings in the world playing football and hitting you time after time when you're not the size of a linebacker, a safety, or one of these defensive linemen. So getting hit by these guys continuously is going to have you not doing the thing that they need you to do, which is leading the football team. So you can't do that with your feet. And if you're just airing it out every time, i.e., guys like Josh Allen, defenses are going to account for that. So it's not always about who can throw the ball the furthest, who can run around, who has the best feet, who can run around like a running back. It's about who can manage a football game, who can lead a team, who can stay focused, who can be accurate, who can get the ball out on time, right? Who can face adversity. And Am I just describing Jared Goff?
To a T, to a literal T.
What are we talking about? So these guys, man, I think some of it is. I think you're dead on. Some of it is just trying to say something crazy to get people to click on stuff. And I also think another part of it is really people really do believe that if you have all these other attributes, right? So if I put you on like a scale and I said, okay, you can run super fast, you can throw the ball super far, you can throw the ball super hard, you run a 4.40, you're going to be a great quarterback, and that's just not how it works.
No. Here's the thing, when and mainly during like draft season and like the combine and all that, everyone gets just blown away with these quarterbacks who throw the ball like 60 yards rolling left and he threw it 70 yards to his right, like Zach Wilson a few years ago. That's great. It's cool. You're in your underwear. No one's rushing you. No one's blitzing. That's fine. Me personally, I want to see quarterbacks in film, and I think the 20 yards is where a quarterback has to be deadly. How accurate are you within 20 yards? How much velocity can you put on a football in 20 yards? Can you put it on the wide receiver's hip? Can you put it on his hands where the ball needs to be? Maybe you could bump that out to like 20, 25 yards. I don't care if a quarterback can throw the ball 70 yards. I care about how he processes the game, how he recognizes coverage, how accurate he is, and his decision making, not making
Yeah.
a bad play worse. Jared Goff is very good at that. And there's another comment made about how Jared Goff needs to be protected at all times to be really good. I think we could say that about 99% of the NFL. Like, most quarterbacks need great protection to get the ball out of their hands. Like, that's the name of the game, protecting the quarterback. Like, he's the most important piece on the football field. If you can't do that, you're going to struggle. So for people to call Jared Goff a civilian and say that he needs protection around him, I've used this reference 100 times, I think. Go watch Patrick Mahomes against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. He's great. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. When you disrupt any quarterback, you make them run for their life, you break their plays down, you're playing good coverage, it changes the game. It doesn't matter how great you are. Defenses can still win championships. They just don't get overlooked because this is a sport now that's driven by fantasy football and gambling and all the stuff you can do. It's fun to look at, but defenses can still play a massive, massive role in winning championships. And the Detroit Lions don't have an elite defense right now, but I think we're playing damn good football on defense. We're a top 5. So Jared Goff has plenty of pieces around him to win a Super Bowl.
I think he definitely has the pieces around him to win the Super Bowl. I don't know. I think the gap is closing on Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to say that he's not the best quarterback anymore yet, but I think that the game is changing and he's starting to be more normal than he was when he first came onto the scene. When I'm looking at guys like CJ Stroud, that dude's special and he's doing special things. And I think that when I think about what people are saying about Jared Goff, and I'm going to be careful with my words because I love Jared Goff. I think what they're talking about a lot of times, or what they should be trying to say, is this: if a guy like CJ Stroud was on the Detroit Lions, could he add a piece to what Jared Goff does? Because that's a guy who is also accurate. That's a guy who is also able to face adversity and look it in the eye and keep pressing forward. And he can do some things with his feet that Jared Goff can't. So is there that thing out there? There is. Do we need it? We don't. Every single football team should be putting themselves in the best position to be successful. Why are we penalizing the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff for them building a team around the quarterback based off what their quarterback needed? That's all they've done. They knew that their quarterback needed to be protected. He needed to be protected a little bit differently than, say, maybe a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson. Hats off on our GM for doing it the right way. Like, so his numbers are his numbers. He's doing a great job. Does he have a weapon at every single facet of his offense? He does. Deal with it. I mean, every other GM has the same opportunity as our GM to build a football team. So I'm not going to sit here and penalize and say, hey, Jared Goff wouldn't be this if he didn't have this, or he wouldn't be that if he was this, or if CJ Stroud was the quarterback of the Detroit Lions, then it would be this. Frankly, I don't give a darn because he's not our quarterback. He's the one getting his ass kicked right after he's up in the first half. And he's dealing with our quarterback, bringing our team back, man. I'm worried about our quarterback and what our quarterback's doing. And if you got time to hate on our quarterback, it's probably because your quarterback is losing ours. and that's the bottom line to me, man.
Let me ask you a question. 2 questions, Will. Just give me one word answers.
Talk to me.
Did the Detroit Lions beat the Kansas City Chiefs last year?
Sure did.
Did our
I'm
Detroit
sorry, yes.
Did our Detroit Lions team get better since that game?
Yes.
Problem solved. There you go. When we talk about being civilians, like you mentioned, Brady, Peyton Manning, his last Super Bowl with the Broncos, he wasn't nothing special. Like, you can win the game with how you process football and what goes on between your head. You still have to be accurate. Look at those teams. Brady had some good defenses, not elite, not like the Legion of Boom or the 85 Bears, but he had some good defenses. That Broncos team in 2015, they had an elite defense. You know who they went up against in the Super Bowl that year?
Who's up?
Cam Newton, who won the MVP, one of the best stats for a quarterback in all of football, in my opinion, what he did in that 2015 season. A really good defense made him look very, very bad. Okay, so you could still win games with defenses. So Jared Goff gets a lot of hate, man, by these media guys who, like we said, it's just trying to keep themselves relevant. Like, I had heard about Nick Wright. I know he's been around for years. He's been in the game a long time. I don't know why you're talking about the Detroit Lions when we're sitting at 9-1. Like, we can't win a Super Bowl. Like, we're 9-1 for a reason. Have we won any trophies yet? No. Let's talk in February because that time's coming.
Yeah. I think that you're partially right in all of the pieces. Could he just be saying something just to say it, to get some noise going? Absolutely, he could. Could he believe it at a certain level because of what guys look at in Jared Goff? They don't believe that he can be special because they don't see special physical ability. Maybe. And like I said, man, frankly, I don't care. But there's some other news going on. And our boy that we have to defend, you said your shield, man. It's like, man, we got to put our shields back on. My dog J-Mo back in headlines. And I guess I want to start off with the Matt Derry. Did you hear what Matt Derry said? The Locked On Lions guy,
I did.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it in here. So if you haven't seen this, Matt Derry, the host of Locked On Lions, was talking about J-Mo after his celebration after the game. This is what he had to say.
Where he turned on the burners and then acted like a complete clown and grabbed his crotch and what? I'm done talking about that. Let me just, actually, I'm not done talking about it. Let me just get this out of the way before all the YouTube commenters come after me. Jameson Williams' act is getting tired. Sorry, guy's a talented player, but jumping backwards into the end zone when you don't have to. What if he hit his head, cracked his head open? What if he got a concussion? What if he hurt himself? Just run into the end zone. Just run in there. Just do what your other teammates do. You want to dance after? Go for it. Grabbing his crotch like Marshawn Lynch, whatever. You guys think it's cool? Hey, Breaking T has a t-shirt for it. Awesome. I think it's stupid. Sorry. Talented kid. But it seems like every week we bring.
That's what Matt Derry's take was on it, man. How you feel about it, Steve?
William, I have a rule in life, okay?
Talk to me.
When we grew up, you and me, we're not going to put our ages out there. We're a little older. When we grew up, I was always taught, don't say anything about anyone that you wouldn't say to their face, okay? That's something that was
Let's start there.
With social media, there's a lot of things that get said out there. I wouldn't say anything about Matt Derry that I wouldn't say to his face. I'm not going to be completely disrespectful, but when you give these old dinosaurs a microphone and a platform, this is the kind of stuff you're going to get. And I hear it all the time from Pat Caputo from 97 Won the Ticket. These guys, when he said he could have fell and hit his head and got a concussion. I told you off camera, I said it reminded me of Ralphie's mom from A Christmas Story talking about how he was going to shoot his eye out. Like, okay, yeah, he could have. He absolutely could have. You know what else he could have done? I didn't hear you bitching after he dunked the football on the goalpost against the Tennessee Titans or whoever that was against. I can't remember. Well, my God, Will, he could have came down and rolled his ankle. Like, Are we worried about injuries in football? Because we already are playing a violent sport. You can get hurt blocking. You can have a non-contact injury and go down for the season. You don't have to get hit. You don't have to fall. You could just take a wrong step. It happened to what's boy's name from the San Francisco 49ers last year that tore his Achilles just running onto the field. I can't think of his name right now, the linebacker.
Greenlaw.
Shit happens in football, okay? Now, I've spoke my piece. Well, I think you're going to bring it home. I'll let you have the floor because I think we're going to be on the same page with what you say.
Yeah, so Matt Derry to me, man. Well, first things first, what I get confused about is I feel like people don't have the understanding of their responsibility when they get a platform, right? And I feel like it's something that we've grown at ourselves, right? But he's been doing it for a long time. All right. So when you're basically a representative of the Detroit Lions, and I'm not going to say that we're there yet, but he definitely is a representative for the Detroit Lions. I think we have to have an understanding that these players see this stuff. And I said it before. We've had wives comment on our stuff. We've had I seen Reeves Maven liked one of our posts before. So players see our stuff. And I think that impacting them in a negative way is something that we should be responsible for. J-Mo has been in the news in a negative way so much for things that he shouldn't have been. Now he's earned some stuff to get himself in the news, but this little ticky-tacky stuff and then getting on here and just bashing him, I said it before, my fear is these are the type of things that are going to run him out of town, right? And Matt Derry should know better than that. That's the first thing. The second thing is this: Matt Derry is very connected to what's going on in the city of Detroit, right? And if you're going to get on here and be so critical of what J-Mo is doing in negative moments, I think you should also pat him on the back when he's doing something great, right? So after the Jacksonville Jaguars game, and I know you already know, Steve, Kirby Joseph and Jameson Williams, after the Jaguars game, where a lot of people after their games are going out and partying, drinking, having a good time, women, whatever the case may be. Those two guys went out and they were handing out turkeys. Right? They handed out 100 turkeys after the game, right? So I don't see Matt Derry talking about that. He also was signing footballs and taking pictures, right? So I said this in the previous podcast, and I want to bring light to it again. Jameson Williams is a football guy. He's a football guy. And what I mean by that is he has watched football since he was a little kid. He pays homage. You made mention to the dunking over the goalposts of the same thing that Calvin Johnson had did back in the day. And the grabbing of the crotch was him paying homage. And Matt Derry even mentioned it to Marshawn Lynch, right? He was paying homage to a celebration that Marshawn Lynch did. So let's break down the Marshawn Lynch. Who's Marshawn Lynch? He's a kid, right? He's a man now, but he was a kid that came from the hood.
I know I'm gonna get got.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
gonna get mine more than I get got, though. That's
hey,
my favorite Marshawn Lynch quote.
Hey, period. I'm gonna get mine more than I get got, though, right? So Marshawn Lynch is a dude that's from the hood, right? Similar to the Jameson Williams, man. He's from the hood. And I guarantee that J-Mo has taken that guy and showed some appreciation to him, or was showing appreciation to him for showing that there's a path for him to do it too, right? And which is what he's doing right now on his stage. So I thought that this was interesting. I'm gonna load this one up, Steve, because I thought this was interesting.
Thanksgiving first. I'm going to give out turkeys back in the hood. I'm with you. You want me to come? You will? I appreciate it though, big dog. Hang on. But I'm gonna be in the hood giving out turkeys like Nino Brown, baby. Like Nino Brown, trying to restore my community.
So that's him out there, man, handing out those turkeys, man, doing this thing. But I find it interesting. J-Mo handed out turkeys last year. I didn't hear anything about it. He's handing out turkeys this year. I hear nothing about it. But Matt Derry wants to come in and other people too, and just bash these guys, but not give them their props, man. When it's time to give them their props, it's trash to me. It's weak to me. I think we should stop watching BS like this, because when we watch it, we support these guys and what they're doing and their narratives, man. Because he's doing the same thing. He's just trying to put food on his table by talking critical, because people love negativity so much. So he knows if he gets on there and he bashes J-Mo, people are going to click it. Oh, what happened with J-Mo, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's similar to the Nick Wright thing, Steve. I'm not going to curse on here, but I think it's bull, you know what? And I don't know, man. J-Mo, we will continue to support you at Detroit in 313.
Yeah, I also never see anyone talking about, when Jameson Williams goes home in the offseason to St. Louis and he puts on a football camp for 1,000 kids every year on his dollar, his dime, new pads, cleats, hats, gloves, all that stuff out of his own pocket. Never hear anything about it. Where do you hear about it, Will? Right here. All right. We talk about the good stuff. We talk about the bad stuff. If it's in the news, we got to talk about it. I'll say this. What I do respect is that at least Matt Derry put his opinion out there. He put his opinion out there. He wasn't, scared to say what he had to say. So I respect that. I just think it was, like you said, if you're going to talk about the negativity, make sure you talk about some of the good stuff he does too, because there's plenty of that. And we just pick on Jameson Williams for every little thing. Like, oh man, he didn't get out of his car and help that old woman across the street. Like, oh, piece of shit, man. Got to trade him. Got to get him out of town. Can't have that.
No, Yep.
What else we got tonight, Will? I'm getting a little worked up here.
I know. Let's break it down. Injury news. So I think this is some pivotal stuff that went on today as far as somebody being out and somebody getting activated. So you want to spill the beans on that?
I'll let you, yeah, you got the picture right there. So obviously you can see the Detroit Lions kind of not ended the season for Ennis Rakestraw, putting him in the IR, activating Emmanuel Mosley, Terrion Arnold's out. I'm a little disappointed that we're probably not going to see Ennis Rakestraw. All right, I was saying this last week. I thought it was a good week for Carlton Davis to sit a game, rest up that hand or that thumb. Let's get the young kid in there and see what he could do. So we're going to get a heavy dose of Kindle Vildor tomorrow against the Colts. Revenge game, man. I think Kindle Vildor played pretty good last week when he got into the game in the second half. I think Kindle Vildor gets a bad rap, man. He had listen, I'm not saying this dude's like Darrelle Revis or anything. Let's just set the record straight, okay? But yeah, I see you looking around, Will. Listen, I'm not going to say he's Darrelle Revis, but he's pretty known in Detroit Lions history for having one of the worst plays at the worst time. But that San Francisco 49ers game last season, there were so many other plays. That was just kind of the big one that stands out in everybody's mind. We could talk about Jahmyr Gibbs' first career lost fumble, not his first fumble. People like to point that out, but first lost fumble. Some drop passes. Like Kindle Vildor obviously took the spotlight with the face mask off his head, ended up leading to a touchdown. But that's not the only play in that game that gave it away for the Lions in the NFC Championship. So I think Kindle Vildor playing cornerback 2 is going to be fine. We have so many pieces on defense that I'm not worried about it. If we have one shaky piece, we have 10 others that'll cover up a shaky piece. So I'm not really worried. How do you feel, Will?
I feel the same way. And if he doesn't play well, we're just going to bump Ennis Rakestraw out there and probably move Emmanuel Mosley into the slot or vice versa. So secondary is something that I'm not worried about currently, man. We got a lot of depth there. I am kind of disappointed about Ennis Rakestraw. I'm so glad that we got Terrion Arnold. Back when we were doing our draft shows, and it was seeming that the Detroit Lions were going to draft Ennis Rakestraw probably at their draft choice, but then we ended up having the ability to trade up and go get Terrion Arnold, who we really wanted. Not that we didn't really want Ennis Rakestraw, obviously, but my biggest concern with Rakestraw then was his injury background, man. He seems like he's oftentimes a little bit banged up. He's got a smaller frame, kind of similar to Emmanuel Mosley to me. So I'm hoping that he can take this opportunity to get healthy and be available for the playoff run. That's what I hope, right? So I guess yet remains to be seen. I know it's a hamstring that he's dealing with right now, so I'm hoping it's a nagging thing that they're hoping that we can get it healed up and then he can press on. But I don't know. He can play football while he's out there, though. The reps that I've seen him get, man, he's highly competitive. So yeah, let's just get that body together, man.
How do you feel about Emmanuel Mosley? You think we're going to see him tomorrow?
I think we're definitely going to see him tomorrow. Since they activated him, and then in the press conference, Dan Campbell, he kind of toyed with me a little bit, but he said they asked if he was definitively going to be out there, and he said he hopes that he can get out there, that he's looked good at practice. It was depending on how he was going to look on Thursday. He looked good. He got activated. So I would imagine he's probably going to be out there on a snap count, especially being the history that has happened. But Steve, you said it, and I feel like Emmanuel Mosley should thank you because I believe you were part of the positive energy of willing him back when he got injured the last time. You came on immediately and said, this is somebody that you've been cheering for. You love the way that he did his offseason training, and you hope that he wouldn't give it up and he would come back and play for the Detroit Lions. And here it is, man. So I'm hoping not only that he gets his opportunity, maybe he gets his hands on his football. He gets a time to really shine.
I tell you what, out of all the Detroit Lions, I'm probably most excited to see Emmanuel Mosley. The dude's just been through everything. Like I thought he was going to be a lockdown type piece when we got him from San Francisco. Once he came back from his injury, comes out, plays like 2-3 snaps, tears the other ACL, and I'm just like, oh my God, man, like this dude just can't catch a break. Rehab. That's all he's done. What if we got an Emmanuel Mosley pick 6 tomorrow? Would that just be like maybe he's only going to get like a handful of snaps? Yeah. But man, if one of those is a pick 6, chills, William.
Obviously, I don't think we have an Emmanuel Mosley unless you got a jersey hiding at your house somewhere that you probably have to custom make.
Yeah, we'll have to get one custom made.
But I do got one. I think I got one more jersey in there other than my Panay over here. But I'll do another. So we got what? We got if if something happens, we're doing a jersey. If who
Right.
scores, I can't remember. I have to revert back to the
Yeah,
show,
we
but
did
we
it.
got a jersey on the docket for a score, I believe. And if Emmanuel Mosley, if he gets a pick six, man, we'll pull another. We'll do 2
Oh, it was a
jerseys.
Brian Branch pick six. Brian Branch pick
There it
six.
is.
Was that what it was? Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do 2 of them, man. If E-Man gets one, man, or a $100 gift card, because I do have one of those, so we'll do one of the 2, man. But if Emmanuel Mosley gets something, we're gonna give something away on Detroit Den 313 to support him, man, because that dude has been through it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to just see him on the field and playing football. But I mean, if he makes a key play or something like that, I honestly wouldn't. I'd probably cry. Like that's how much I'm cheering for this dude.
Seriously,
like,
man.
he's been through it.
Yeah, he has, man. He has, man. I'm pumped for him.
Anything else for the night?
I don't think so, man. I'm just happy that the Detroit Lions are doing their thing. I'm excited about tomorrow. I still haven't decided what I'm doing, man. I might end up down there, so we'll see. I'll be posting about it one way or another.
You better hit the road real soon. It's about a 4 or 5 hour drive from here, William. You better get on the road.
You know, I will be abiding by all speed limits. But
absolutely, toll roads are non-existent. You know, just go around those things. We'll pay those later. We ain't worried about that. All right, guys, we hopped on here tonight. Just want to talk some disrespect, some news, some rumors, all things Detroit Lions. Hit that like button, stick around, leave some comments. We'll be back later with another show.